is Temwa. They call me Teacher Temwa. I teach third grade in a rural school in Malawi, Africa.
Ma'am.
Yes, yes.
Good
Hi.
afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
This is Nandakishore, an 8th grade student from Z.P.H.S Ilavaram. I would like to ask a question. Can I ask, ma'am?
Sure, go ahead.
Please share us about students and their backgrounds.
Most of my students, they come from a poor background. Some of them are orphans and some of them are raised by single parents. And so most of them used to live in the streets after losing their parents. So I adopted a lot of students and I live with them.
Absolutely incredible. Incredible example for any teacher to follow. Madhavi, over to you.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. How
are you?
I'm fine, and how are you?
I'm fine, thank you, ma'am. This is Madhvi, an 8th grade student for Z.P.H.S School, Ilavaram. I would like to ask one question. Can I ask, ma'am?
Yeah, sure.
How do you meet your students' needs?
Okay, so we use agriculture. We have a land where we grow different crops, and when we sell those things, I use the money to buy the needs of the children, like the school supplies, the food, and other things. So mostly, we depend on agriculture to meet the students' needs.
Great. Gayatri, over to you.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm fine, ma'am. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
My name is Gayatri, an 8th grader from Z.P.H.S High School, Ilavaram. I'm very excited to ask a question, ma'am. Can I ask, ma'am?
Yeah, sure, you can ask.
Could you please tell us about your inspiring journey as a teacher?
Okay, so I started working as a teacher in 2018. So I teach at a public school. So at the school where I teach, we have a lot of students where they come from poor backgrounds. And so most of them used to come to school while hungry and they did not have school supplies. They did not have shoes to put on. They did not have clothes. So that really made me sad. And I thought of helping them with other needs apart from the teaching. So apart from being a teacher to the kids, I'm also like a parent to them. I'm like their mother.
Wow, absolutely incredible. Subramania Srinivas, over to you.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I am fine, ma'am. This is Subramania Srinivas, 8th grade student from Z.P.H School, Ilavaram. I would like to ask a question. Can I ask, ma'am?
Yes, sure.
Here my question is, what kind of support do you get from your government to teach effectively?
We don't get a lot of support, but sometimes we do get little resources like school supplies, but they are not enough to give to all students. So we don't get much support from our government. It's just a few resources that we get. We do most of the things on our own.
So, in fact, I have a question. You have been teaching these kids. You teach all the subjects, and you are playing a different roles as a teacher, as a mother, as a caretaker, and everything, every role you are playing. In fact, what made you to become a teacher? What made you to serve this poorest of the poor? Because the age, the kind of age that you are so young. So in fact, if you want to work, you can work somewhere in the other countries. You can earn a good life. You can lead a good life. In fact, you have that qualification. I think so. But you have chosen a path where you need to work with the poorest of the poor, and you are serving them in all the ways. That's really exemplary for every teacher in this world. So what made you to become a teacher?
I became a teacher because in our country, most people are not interested to become teachers. So there are only few teachers in most schools, especially in rural areas. People don't like to live in rural areas. So because there are few teachers in schools, as a result, most children don't go to school. So that made me start thinking of becoming a teacher so that I can bring back a lot of children to school and I can be able to help with my teaching skills.
Okay. But here in India, in my region, especially the students get all sorts of incentives from the government. We get the free meal, free textbooks, free uniform. Everything is free. Everything is supplied to the students free of cost. But whereas in your region, I think you have a lot of shortcomings. So you have shared with us that you are looking after all their needs as a mother, as a caretaker, everything. So what kind of different roles you are playing other than the teacher?
Okay, so I cook for the students and I also have to go to the farm and I also teach the children farming because it's not everyone that is going to get a job in future. So I teach them farming and I teach them about religion, I teach them about discipline, and I teach them how to be kind to other people. I teach them a lot of things that are not taught in school. So apart from being a teacher, I teach them so many things so that when they grow up, they should be able to depend on themselves.
Wow, you are absolutely an amazing teacher. No question about that.
Ma'am,
Hello,
how are you, ma'am?
I'm fine, and how are you?
I'm fine, ma'am. Thanks. My name is Mamata. I am in 7th grade. I'm from Z.P.H.S Ilavaram. Can I ask one question, ma'am?
Oh, sure, you can ask.
What kind of teaching methods do you follow to teach math?
Okay, so most of the times we use problem solving. We also use the lecture method and discussion and pair work.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
So, in fact, as per my knowledge, you don't have that much resources, or in terms of technology, you don't have. You don't have. I don't think that the digital boards and the computers, laptops, and tabs. Probably you are teaching your students to the traditional way of using the blackboard to teach the math, to teach English, to teach other subjects. So, what kind of methods or techniques do you use to take these topics to these young minds, especially at the time when the technology era is ruling all over the world? But for your students, it may be a distant past. So, how do you manage? How are you managing these things?
It's so difficult to manage because like in my class I teach over 200 students and with only like maybe one book just for a teacher. So it means everything has to be written on the chalkboard, and we have challenges like some other kids from the back, they cannot see what I write. So most of the times we use direct method that involves thinking and communicating between the teachers and the students. So I also use grammar translation and the learning method, which involves a lot of communication. So mostly we depend on communication and the direct method, like the lecture method, where I just explain to the kids and involve them. But that is just because the resources are not enough.
Yes, Tembo, I'm so curious to ask you one more question. So
Sure.
to teach English subject, especially as you know that you are speaking very polished, very good English. In fact, I must say that you must be teaching your students in such a effective way that they can grasp everything that you teach in in your classroom.
Yeah.
So what kind of techniques do you utilize, do you use to make your students good at English? In
Okay,
our
so like,
Yes, in my school we have the digital platform, digital panel boards and tabs, and of course, most of my students have the smartphones. But from your side, there might not be such a electronic devices. So, how are you bridging the gap between the digitalization and the traditional methods?
okay, so what I do is, so when I teach English, so all the words that I teach in English, I also have to teach them in our local language because most of the kids do not understand the English words. So when I teach the words in English, I also have to explain what they mean in the local language. And then using that method, the kids are able to understand easily by translating using the local language. So after teaching, so I write the words on papers and I paste on the walls of the classrooms for the kids to memorize all the words. So I also use simple sentences. So when I use the sentences, I also ask the kids to repeat the same or construct their own sentences using the same words that I've taught them. So mostly I use local language to teach English. So after teaching English, I also have to translate the same things in local language for the kids to understand, because if you don't translate, they don't get anything, because the only English words they hear is when they're watching TV. There's nothing like the tablets. When they're at home, they just play. So the only English words that they hear from the teacher. So
So how are the teachers working in the public schools paid in your country? Are they paid well? Are they paid low? Yes. Temwa, did you understand my
they are paid so low. For example, like they are, we are we are paid so low, like maybe less than $200 a month.
teaching training sessions? I mean, to upgrade our professional knowledge, do you often have training sessions? Uh, so in our state, we have online training sessions for the teachers to upgrade their professional skills, professional knowledge. Do you have such a programs in your country to take your professional skills to the next?
Yes, we do have.
Hmm.
Yeah, we do have such programs, but then for someone to attend such programs, you have to pay something to attend the programs. So most of the times we do not have money to pay for such programs, so we end up not attending such programs.
Wow. Mhm. So you have been serving your students a lot, and you are playing all the roles. How are the other teachers working in your region? Are the same dedicated teachers like you, or they are less professional teachers like some other schools in different countries? What kind of commitment they have to serve to their community, especially the students?
So most of them, they only go to school and teach, and after teaching, they go back home. They don't care about their students' needs. They care about their own lives. They don't care about other people. So they just go to the school and teach, and they go. But whatever is happening to the students, they don't care.
Kind of problems that you usually see in your students? I mean, in terms of psychological issues or family issues or many other issues might be there, because you have told us that most of your students are the single parents students. So what kind of issues you encounter every day as a teacher? especially from your
Okay,
student
so
side?
also because most of them they grew up on their own, they were not raised by parents. So some students are so rude. They like some of them they don't actually listen to what I'm telling them. So some of them they fight. Sometimes they steal from other students and they are being so mean to other students. So like I face those challenges, but I understand because of their background as my own children. So I don't like to see them doing bad things. So I counsel them and sometimes I threaten them that if you do these bad things, then you are no longer going to be my student. So they become scared and they start to become good children.
Wow. So you single-handedly managed to pull so much of funding from the other countries just to cater the needs of your students. And how much you have done for your students pooling the funding from the other countries, and you managed to give them clothing, you managed to give them nutritious food and whatnot. I think you are providing everything to your students. So could you please share some of the activities that you organize with this funding coming from the different countries?
Okay, so some of the money that I got from the different countries, I used it to build some good homes for the children, some classrooms. So because we don't receive much from government, I bought them school uniforms. I bought them some shoes, and I also use the money for their medication. When they get sick, I use the same money to take them to the hospital. And the other money, we use it for farming our land so that I can be able to feed all the children.
Wow. So what kind of vegetables do you grow in your fields?
So mostly we grow cabbages and so the other vegetables in our local language we call them piru.
Biru.
We also grow pumpkin leaves.
Mhm.
We have the lettuce, the peas, the tomatoes, and so much more.
Okay. So what kind of infrastructure facilities are placed in your classroom? Do you have the benches for the students to sit, or the students are need to sit only on the floor? What kind of infrastructure is there in your classroom, average classroom, especially in public system?
Okay, so the little ones like from first grade up to fifth grade, they all sit on the floor. But from sixth grade, the older students they sit on desks. So because the desks are not enough for all the students, so we only give to the older students to use. So the young ones they sit on the floor.
Yes, I have been following your Facebook posts all the time. I am so impressed with your work. So one more question is coming up from one of my students. Radhika, over to you.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to India. This is Radhika. I am then 7th grader from Z.P.H.S Ilavaram. Can I ask you a question, ma'am?
Yeah, sure.
How do you teach English at your school?
Okay, so mostly when I teach English, I use different methods like the direct method, the natural approach. So whatever I teach, I also have to translate in our local language for the students to understand, because most of them cannot understand English without translating to local language.
Okay, thank you. Here are my last two questions because your time is so precious for me and for you also. So you have become a role model in Malawi and of course in whole African continent. So in your opinion, what kind of qualities should an educator possess to teach effectively to the students? As you have told that teaching is not just one job that we are supposed to do as a teacher. We have many other roles because you have already proved that. So in your opinion, what kind of qualities should a great teacher possess?
Okay, so the qualities that a teacher must have. First thing, the teacher should be passionate about the job. The teacher should not just think that I'm going to get this amount of money. This amount of money is not enough, or I need a lot of money. But the person has to be passionate about the job. So if you are passionate, everything works smoothly. And apart from being passionate, you need to be dedicated to the job, because you are teaching students who are innocent. You are not teaching government. You are not teaching an organization, but you are there for the students. So you just have to sacrifice yourself for your students, despite that despite that government is not supporting, or whoever is not supporting, but you just have to be there for your students. So mostly a teacher must be passionate and dedicated. And apart from that, the teacher should also have love from the heart. You should take the students just like your own children. And if you take them as your own children, you can treat them well, you can teach them effectively.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you have
Yeah,
been
sure.
an inspiring educator. Have you ever felt that yes, I have uh, I have actually chosen the right profession of teaching? So did you have any such moments, proud moments being a teacher? Because some of the students that you taught left the school and came back again with a good news for you. So has it happened like that in your short span of teaching? Or any other proud moments as a teacher?
Yeah, there are some other children right now. They are in secondary school. They were chosen to go and learn at secondary school after performing well. So I really feel like my teaching is really effective, and it's really helping a lot. And some of the students that I taught some few years ago, right now they are independent, and they are able to support themselves, and they are also able to support some other students.
Yes. Before we wind up the session, could you please give a final message to my students and to my teachers also, especially?
Okay, so my final message to the students is you students, you just have to be so hardworking. You have to be obedient to the teachers, and you need to love one another. You should not love people who only come from rich backgrounds, but you should treat everyone equally. You should treat everyone the same, and you should be kind to one another. You should be able to support each other, because the support that you will be giving each other now, that spirit will grow in you and the future generation. And to the teachers, you just have to be dedicated and loving the students as your own.
Thank you